T-Rated. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of T-Rated for conversations on life and growth through gender and sexuality. Today, it's just going to be me and you for a very special end of the year episode of T-Rated. So I wanted to do this episode and just go through and give kind of what I feel like have been the funniest, some the most controversial, and then a lot of the most insightful moments of every episode that has come out over the past year, and just give any kind of additional thoughts if my opinions on anything have changed, and let you all know overall where I see T-Rated headed and the few things I want to change and the things that I want to keep the same. So this first clip is going to be from the very first episode, actually, of T-Rated, which technically came out last year, but I wanted to include it because I've shared some things about it before, but I want to give a little bit more of my opinion. So let's have a look at this clip from episode 1 of T-Rated.
It doesn't make you gay to date a trans woman, but a lot of gay men, not gay men, a lot of men, maybe they are gay, who knows?
So to start out, this is very much a topic and a dead horse, if you will, that has been beaten to death 100 million fucking times. And I spoke a lot online about, well, not a lot, but a few times on Twitter and like other social media about it being something that I just do not honestly care about the answer in general, because I think everybody has their own viewpoints on it, and it's not something that keeps me up at night. I think a lot of trans women bring up this topic and we talk about it to a certain extent, rightfully so, because part of saying that men who date trans women are gay, they feel like it removes their identity as a woman, because we're always taught that being gay is two men who like each other. And so if you're saying that it's gay for a man to date a trans woman, then you're essentially calling trans women men. Now, I understand why different girls that will be important to them. I feel like for me personally, I've gotten to a place where, first off, I don't think there's anything negative about being gay or queerness in general, obviously. And so even if a relationship I was in was to be quote unquote queer, I don't care enough to define it one way or another. And if it was queer, I would be okay with that, because it's not, again, I don't look at queerness as something that's like negative. I also don't get my understanding of my gender and who I am in general from how or why someone else is attracted to me. But of course, a lot of cisgender heterosexual people like to harp on this and have this conversation, which if they view it as gay sex, it's kind of weird that they're continuously harping on it. But the reality is that most of the men who date trans women usually also date cis women. And so at the end of the day, whether it's gay, straight, queer, or indifferent, we're still all fucking the same people. So if we're arguing about if they're going to be gay or queer, it's still the same pool of people that we are just colluding with. So if I'm fucking gay men, you're fucking gay men too. Now that that is out of the way, let's jump into something more positive, which is going to be a clip from episode 9, which has none other than Tevin, the videographer, in it.
I would say moving to a bigger city, seeing like more different walks of life and everything, like it opened my eyes to more things. And like, I would say like staying in the South, it like shelters you from a lot. You typically like hate what you don't understand. Because I would say at a certain point, I was like a homophobic person.
You was homophobic?
And it took somebody like in my life.
Were you calling people the F word in high school?
probably as a kid, but not in high school.
Okay.
And the thing is, like, when you said that word, like, as a kid, you didn't understand. You didn't
The context of
yeah,
it.
you just knew it was just like a
You
word
just knew
you
it
called
was derogatory.
somebody. Yeah, you just knew you called somebody that when something wasn't going right for yourself or whatever. Like you just called them the F word or whatever just because you're a kid and that's what you heard. Back to what I was saying about somebody in my life, like, he opened up about it to me because he was family to me. He told me, like, he came out of the closet and whatever. He told me, like, reasons why he think he's the way he is, and that helped open my eyes to a lot of things, because I'm like, there's nothing wrong with somebody being homosexual.
Not homosexual. That's a southern word. Yeah, homosexual.
They just want to be happy, just like everybody else in life. And that's where I learned not to, like, judge people try not to judge people. Like, you're gonna automatically judge people, but I try not to judge people based on that particular part of their life.
So let's all give the videographer Tevin a round of applause for not saying the F word anymore. He grew up out of that. That has been one of my favorite clips from the episode, and I'm not just saying that because Tevin's my videographer. But he's one of I've only had a couple men on the podcast, and I appreciated his viewpoint on a lot of different things and him sharing that story, because it gave, obviously, I'm sure a lot of you know that I'm from South Georgia as well. So it was nice to see someone who comes from a similar background, or just a background of a small town regressive type of mindset, be able to grow and then share the story of how they learned to have acceptance for the people around them. And also, which I feel like tends to happen a lot, is sometimes it takes someone around you who is inside of the LGBT community, who means a lot to you, actually opening up and explaining things to you that helps to open your mind. Next clip is gonna be Domino. So, before your relationships now and polyamory, you mentioned earlier you were married.
Yeah, I had been married.
And got divorced.
Mm-hmm, thank God.
Why did that, do you want to talk about why that didn't work out?
Crackhead.
Or what? So what did you learn from him? What did you learn from him being a crackhead? What did you learn from that?
If somebody says they're an addict, like, for me, I just need to steer clear of them. Like, and also, like, trust in your gut. If you think they're fucked up and they're sitting here lying to you, they're probably fucked up. Don't marry somebody you haven't known that long. Like, I only knew him for 3 months and we were married. And he was like, started out as a client. And then, like, what later, like, now I realize, like, everything was a fucking fraud. It was a scam. He was fucking everyone around me because I wouldn't post him.
Was there a reason why you got married in 3 months?
I think because as a trans person, we have a hard time accepting love and, like, or not accepting love, but, like, thinking anyone will ever get that far with us. And, like, I had been engaged 3 times before that with other people. And so, like, if he said he was going to marry me and we were living this lovely life and he took care of me in a way that I had never been taken care of before, it made me feel a way that I had never felt before. It's called love bombing. And so, like, I felt for all of it. I was just stupid. Like, but I was a really good wife and I liked being a wife. I liked that whole thing. But now I will be, like, multiple people's wives. So
this clip actually had a lot of feedback from a lot of the different girls in the community. And I feel like for good reason. It was a very relatable story, even for girls who haven't been married before or went through divorce. We've all had those relationships. And I don't think this is just for trans women. I think it's for people in general, but we've all had those relationships that we can look back on and see where our own past traumas kind of caused difficulties either in the relationship or caused us to get into the relationships that were not the best for us. I do want to say, since this podcast, I do want it to be about growth, and I want it to be entertaining, but also want it to be educational and informative and uplift everyone in our community and anyone who watches it. And so I will say in this episode, one thing I noticed when I was watching it back, and particularly from this clip, I wish I had dived deeper into and shared the different things that Domino did during her marriage and then in between her marriage and then getting into the healthy relationships that she is in now, because I feel like that was kind of a key piece that was missing from that episode. So in the event that Domino is ever back on T-Rated again, I will definitely make sure that we hone in on those. But in future episodes, I do want to make sure that I tackle those little bit deeper and more nuanced questions too, so that you all, when you're watching, that it's not just entertainment, but it's also helping you to grow. Next up, when concentrating on growth, I do have a clip from probably one of my favorite episodes or just days of filming so far. Me, Stacy K, and Nicole Korsakova all filmed together one day, and we did 3 episodes that day, or I did 3 episodes that day, and this is going to be from episode 8, which was with both Stacy K and Nicole Korsakova. And so I asked them the question, what was something that they learned about themselves from past relationships that they can use moving forward into new relationships?
Like, as I was like figuring shit out, and it just like, it got toxic for like different things. Like, I have a history with like addiction, and like I had been maybe clean for like 10 months, like when we got together. And like, I just like relapsed really hard because she was like kind of a barfly. And like, that was like all probably before I was like 21. So like when I did turn 21, we just ended up going out like so much. Like, I ended up like using hella heavy. And then like when I eventually tried to quit, it was just like things started to like just not like line up in like a healthy way. So I don't know, I ended up breaking up with her like maybe a few months after like she tried to like propose to me. And like, I really think she did that just to like, as like a like final attempt to just like, you know,
Make it
the
work.
lockdown. Yeah. Cause I don't know. I know she was very serious about the relationship, but by the end I was very just like over a lot of things. Like it was like one of my first like serious relationships too. So it's like, I wasn't really used to a lot of stuff. I didn't really know how to handle confrontation. I didn't really know how to handle like, obviously like pandemic stuff, which like that started like right after our relationship started. So like just a lot of like emotional turmoil that was like too much for too early into a relationship. So like it just all kind of like fell apart really fast. And like, I think what it taught about me was like, I definitely need to rely like on myself primarily before I try to focus on like finding others to try and like bring into my world. I think like I can get very like just lonely in my line of work, and it makes me like just try to find people before I find like stability and foundation. And I now know like how important like the latter comes before the like former. So I think that was the main thing.
And so I just wanted to highlight that clip, not only because it did a good job at showing her being able to understand how she needed to show up in relationships moving forward, but also just the importance of being able to self-reflect on past relationships and being able to grow from them. In this next clip, we're going to recap. It's from Nathalie Presley's episode 12. And I wanted to highlight this because I was gagging from someone who's done adult content. I was still kind of gagged personally at the extent that it takes to make adult content professionally. And obviously T-Rated is always going to be a sex positive podcast show. So I wanted to make sure that we just re-highlight this one and just kind of enjoy listening about the process that it takes and what all goes into making an adult film. And then also just recap it for any of the girls who haven't yet gotten to that line of work but have considered it, to just kind of give a little bit more insight. So you said you recently did.
I recently did Trans Angels.
Yeah. How was that?
It was fun. It was different because it's their scenes are very scripted and like you know, you have to learn your lines and do a whole like setup for the scene itself. And so
they don't let you just wing it. I don't know why I thought not that it would be winged it, but I don't know why I thought that they would be outside of like the intro part.
Yeah. Well, the intro part's longer than you think, I guess. So
okay.
like,
how long was the intro for?
It was probably like, because we had to do like 3 different scenes. One where I'm like meeting my scene partner, who was like my stepson.
Stepson.
Yeah. So like I'm like cleaning house, and then I meet him because he comes in from wherever, and then like he goes back to the room, and I like catch him jacking off, and then I had to like play with his sock that he came in and in front of the laundry room. It was like this whole thing where I had to like peer into the washer and dryer and like
so it was a lot of setup.
Yeah.
But that's like, so did y'all get to a point though where it was like y'all together?
Yeah.
Okay. So
and then we kind of like,
so y'all can go look, they can look this up on
transangels.com.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah. So he like did his business first.
Right. And then I like called him or whatever. And I don't know, it's probably like maybe like 4 or 5 minutes, the whole setup for the scene itself. But yeah.
Okay. But that makes sense because I had done one of mine that was like a Candyman. I did a Candyman one for Halloween last year. And I did not realize that is doing intro stuff in several different segments takes a lot longer than what you think it did.
And especially because like if you're like having to dress and undress for each like different scene, it really took all day. But it was a lot of fun.
How long is all day?
I think we started at like 10 a.m. and I left around 6 or 7 p.m. Yeah.
So it really is work. When they say sex work is work, it's really...
And I was in heels all day, so like my feet were done.
As we wrap up, is there one piece of advice you would give to every girl out there listening?
Don't seek cis approval. You don't need to be accepted by cis people. They're less evolved. You don't need, like, fuck them. They don't understand you. They don't have to. And also leave non-binary people alone. Like, we look exactly like the people who hated on us, turning around and being like, you're not this. I don't believe in this. You're not real. Like, quit doing that. Like,
I love that. Love that.
Like, it's just not, it's so stupid. It's hateful. They are not doing anything to you. And you know what it's like to be different and look different. And like, they could eventually be trans. You don't know. And like, all they're going to remember is you were a fucking asshole. And you don't think they're real or whatever. Or you think they're disgusting. Like, bitch, you're trans also.
I think there's space to have conversations about the nuances and the differences in experiences and the different struggles that we have to go through versus what they have to go through. But the idea that like, because they non-binary present themselves in a certain way or behave in a certain way, that somehow that's going to keep cis people from like respecting us. And it's like, no, like the idea that you could just be, when I was in high school, everybody and had come out like, most people who were down there were homophobic, but I was you're not bad, Joe.
You're not like them. Yeah.
Oh, and so a lot of like,
all have the same story.
a lot of very binary trans people think that like, when you assimilate into society, you don't ruffle feathers anymore. And so the non-binary people are the people who are kind of like holding us back. Mm-hmm. But I mean,
they're not holding us back. We're holding ourselves back by bullying them. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not holding us back. If anything, they're speaking up where y'all won't fucking speak up.
So obviously that clip was from episode 13, part 2 with Domino. And I enjoyed the ending of that clip because in the moment when we were filming it, it almost made it seem like I was calling Domino a freak when I wasn't. I was speaking like in general type. But our episode together was one of my favorites too, just because we had a lot of laughs during that episode. So if you haven't seen it, make sure you go check it out. But I chose that clip primarily because coming towards the end of 2023 and going into 2024, I want to make sure that T-rated overall is not, I don't like the word safe space really, because I think sometimes you have to have hard conversations, hard topics, but you can do them with a certain sense of grace and a certain sense of love. And moving into 2024 and beyond, I just want to make sure that T-rated is always inclusive of everyone inside of our community, and that it adds value in some way, even if that is just entertainment value. I hope it's not, but even if it is just entertainment value, I hope that you're also, for some people, I hope that others are also getting information, understanding, and hopefully a little bit more acceptance for whether it's LGBT people or just people who are different from you that you don't understand. And of course, in regards to hopefully the continuous growth of T-rated, my goal for next year is to do at least a new podcast once a month at a minimum. I feel like I've slacked a little bit through 2023 with not doing as many episodes as I could have, but 2024, the goal is to make sure that I have at least one episode. And with that being said, of course, if you all enjoy T-rated, make sure that you share it with everyone inside and outside of the community. And if there's someone that you would like to see on an upcoming episode of T-rated, make sure you send them your favorite clip from this past year. With all that said, I want to make sure that I wish you all a very happy and love-filled and prosperous 2024. Cheers.